everybody, this is Tesla for Drop Top Tees. Today we are recording part 3 of Itsy Bitsy's mods rated, and today we're going to focus on performance mods, things that add more power, more cornering capability, some kind of performance improvement to the vehicle. Let's quickly review the ratings that we will be giving the car. We're going to rate each mod in 3 areas: performance, ease of install, and value. On performance, since these are performance mods, it's really straightforward. 1 star is worthless, no performance gained. 5 stars, fantastic. And then 2, 3, and 4 progressively reach better levels of performance. Values pretty much the same way. 1 star means not worth the money at all. 5 star means great value. 3 is in between. It means you get some value, but it costs more than the performance gained. And then in ease of install, totally different. We're not rating the mod from bad to good. We're rating how hard it is to install that particular mod. So 1 star is going to be professional installation required, putting tires on wheels, something you can't do at home. All the way up to 5, no skill required. The auto recombi resonated exhaust. This is an axleback system. It has small resonators on it. We have a video showing you how to install this. We also have another video that compares the exhaust sound to the stock exhaust off a Lusso, so you can hear the difference. There we go. I like this. The resonated exhaust is good if you want to improve your sound over stock, but not make your car so loud that you're going to annoy your neighbors. You can get a non-resonated version of the exhaust if you want even a little more sound. On this one, we rated a 5.45. It's a 15-minute to 30-minute job. We go to the Zymex Stelvio rear spoiler. This Zymex is a company in Germany, and they call the design of this wing the Stelvio after the Stelvio pass. It has nothing to do with Alpha. Now, because of where it's at, which is low against the deck, it's going to provide more value in looks than provide downforce if you're running your car hard. And we rate this one 4, 3, 3, 4, because admittedly there are better options if you're doing it strictly for performance. And 3 on the ease of install, simply because in order to secure the mounts you have to cut holes in your metal, and these holes you're cutting go over curved portions of your trunk. So it's a little bit more than just the normal do-it-yourselfer can do. You have to get, and these don't cost much. You get little circular saws that cut down through there. You just drill it, and a little bit more advanced than just basic do-it-yourselfer, but still not all that difficult. And then 3 on value, because remember, I'm looking at value as price versus performance, and in this case it's here as much for looks as performance. So as far as increasing the downforce on my car per dollar spent, I have better options available on the market. If I was pursuing a track car, building a track car, I wouldn't have done this. I would have picked a more performance oriented option. I chose ASA AR1s, and they look nice. They're actually easier to clean than they look like they may be. So we rate these 4.14. 1, obviously I don't have the tools at home. The average do-it-yourselfer doesn't have the tools at home to mount tires on wheels. So by default it's a 1. You have to go to a tire shop to get them mounted. And then 4 on value, again, simply because if I'm looking strictly at performance, there's better wheels out there. But I went more in the terms of daily driver. So for me, I love the wheels. On the tires right now, we have General G-Max RS, ultra high performance summer tires, and these I rate 413. And at the time these were purchased, they were the #2 rated ultra high performance summer tire on the market. However, in the last 2 or 3 years, a bunch of manufacturers have released updates to the tires they have out there, and now it's slipped down to like a 12. So performance wise, you can get better tires now. Again, to mount them on the wheels, you have to have a pro, so they're a 1. And then on value, because of the fact that for the same price there's much better performing tires now, that I only rate it as a 3. If you were to go out and buy tire, if I were to go out and replace these tires, I would not put General G-Maxes back on them. If you're looking at a lower cost performance tire, I'd say Firestone Indy 500s. If you want to go where you don't care about cost, then Michelin Pilot Sport Cups 4s are probably the best, although they just came out with a 5, and I'm waiting to see the feedback on the 5 model. I haven't seen too much feedback on how good the 5s are yet. From here we'll go up to, we added a Willwood front big brake kit. You can get these with the caliper covers either red or black. We went black with the overall theme of the car. Saxy has red ones that came on it. They were already on it when we bought her, so you can see the difference in appearance. These improve braking a lot. If you're going to be more track oriented, you'll probably want to go with the larger versions of the calipers. However, again, for a daily driver, a sporty daily driver, these are a great improvement. The other benefit is that the rotor is bigger, and so it fills up more of the space in your wheel. Just makes it look nicer aesthetically. And on these we put on Hawk DTC10 brakes, both back or front and back, because I wanted the same pads on both sets of wheels. They are rated for autocross light track use, which fits my design goals very well, being a sporty daily driver that's going to be on the track just maybe a couple times a year. I upgraded my brakes because the first time I did the whole Twisted Sisters, by the end of the day I was starting to get some brake fade, which if you're on twisty roads, it's not a good thing to go into turns knowing you're not slowing down as much as you want. So I upgraded my brakes, and I haven't got to run the Twisted Sisters again, but I'm fully expecting to be able to do that or similar type routes and not experience any brake fade at all, which is exactly what I wanted out of my upgraded brakes. So we rate these a 4.25. 4 because if you go with the larger calipers, you get even better performance. 2, I think working on your brakes would qualify as advanced do-it-yourselfer. A beginner probably doesn't want to do it because you screw up your brakes, you're in a world of hurt once you start driving. And then 5 on value because the performance gain you get for the price is awesome. Same thing with the brake pads. I rate it exactly the same way for the same reasons. And then we go to, it's hard to see, we put on Progress Technology lowering springs. I will show you as I talk. I will flash up a screen of Itsy when she was brand new, and you can compare the wheel gap then to the wheel gap now. I went with Progress Technology because I researched those and a lot of their competitors, especially Eibach, because Eibach is one of the most commonly used lowering springs on these cars. But there's all kinds of other ones out there. I pretty much looked at all of them I could find, and I liked the feedback I was reading on how much these lowered the car, and the spring rates compared to the Eibach Pros are almost exactly the same. And so I knew I was going to get a decent level of comfort being retained over stock springs, along with better cornering ability and a very good drop on my wheels. I didn't average, I got at least 1.5 inches of drop on all four corners. And that's a little bit more than what you'd expect from the iBox. But yet I have almost exactly the same spring rate, so same performance, more drop. I rate these 5.35. A basic do-it-yourselfer has the capability of doing this. However, you are going to have to get some special tools related to taking your springs off and putting them back on. The side skirts. These are a fairly new addition to Itsy. 500 Madness or Madness AutoWorks sells these. This is from a company, I probably will say this wrong, Feroce Carbon. They call these the Estremos side skirts. What side skirts do is help prevent air from going underneath the vehicle. They work very much in conjunction with your front lips. The goal is, if the more air you keep out from underneath the car, the lower pressure area you maintain beneath the car, which helps increase downforce. I have these mounted so they stick out just a little bit. I've seen some people mount them where they push this part all the way back flush, but if my goal is to keep air from under the car, I don't want them flush. I want them to stick out a little bit. So they improve the looks of the car, but they also have function in higher speed maneuvering, helping you just add that little bit of extra grip that may get you through a turn several miles an hour faster. These are rated at 4.34, and I picked 4 because I think they're good. I don't know if they're great. I haven't researched it enough to know if there are better options out there. I just don't feel right saying it's the best there is without knowing that it is. So I'm just going safe route, saying these are good performance. 3, it's fairly simple to put these on. You use a combination of 3M double-sided automotive tape, and this comes with 8 bolts. Unlike a lot of side skirts, these have you use 3/4 inch screws in 8 locations to help put them on there. On the very front location, if you make it flush with the edge right there, you have to drill a different screw hole in the side skirt. The placement of the hole on the side skirt is a little bit too far out. And so you put on your tape, you position it, and for the normal backyarder, it's very low to the ground. If you've already done lowering springs, you at a minimum have to have ramps. This is much easier and quicker to do if you have the ability to put your car up on a lift. So that's the reason I say 3. And then performance wise, or on value wise, they are a little bit expensive. You can get cheaper ones. I don't think the cheaper ones look as nice. Be that as it may, you'd get the same performance off the cheaper ones. So I just say good value, maybe not great value. Okay, from here we move on to, get a shot down there of the go pedal. The 500 Madness or Madness AutoWorks go pedal. I wish I had known about these when I started modding the car. It would have been the first performance mod I did. It's a really weird little contraption in that it does not add horsepower. It really doesn't add performance, but it does add thrills. Because what it does, it's basically an accelerator. It advances the electronic input that your engine gets when you press down on your accelerator. So when you press down an inch, it's the same electronically as if you really mashed it down 3 inches. It tells the engine that you press the accelerator down more than you really did. And it seems weird, but the effect that it gives you is insane. The first time my daughter Abby rode in the car after we installed it, I punched it at a red light when it turned green, and she looked at me and just started laughing, and she said, "It feels like we're on an aircraft carrier." I mean, you feel the effect. And you would think, well, I can just press my pedal faster and get the same effect. No, you can't. Electronics work faster than human bodies. So the only way to understand what it does is to experience getting a car that has it. But my recommendation is just buy it. You're going to love it. 500 Madness is so confident you're going to like it. Give you a 30-day money-back guarantee, which most aftermarket products won't have that. They know you're going to like it. So if you're looking to mod your car, very first mod performance-wise, Go Pedal from Madness 500. Now the cool thing is you get 3 different settings, and each one of those gives you 6 levels of intensity. So what I do on mine is I have mine set on the eco mode with like as low as it can go. The second one I have set in the very middle, and on the sport go fast mode I have it all the way maxed out. So I can change what I want, but truthfully I either have it off or I have it on hardcore. There is no in between for me. And this is rated 545. It definitely provides thrills. So performance wise it's awesome. 4, you just have to undo a couple bolts holding the accelerator assembly on, and you splice it in. They give you great examples. It's easy to do, and value wise, yes, great value. And I guess before we get to the engine, we can just show you the front lip on the car. This is again by Zymex. And you can come over here, and I know our front fascias are a little bit different, but you can see how the stock looks on Saxy. If you buy a front lip, you have to make sure you tell the people whether it's an Abarth or just a Classica Lusso, because the design is just slightly different. So the front lip is going to be shaped a little bit different. But you can see the overall effect to where you're adding more material forward of the standard profile of the car, and that serves to help prevent the air from flowing underneath the vehicle. And again, your goal is, when you're looking at cornering ability, driving fast on a track or twisty roads, the less air you have going under the car allows the relative air pressure below the car to be much lower than above the car, and so just forces of nature dictate the car is going to press down a little bit, because high pressure tries to push towards low pressure. And on this one we have this rated at 434 for the same reasons as we did on the side skirts. If you're going with a pure track build, you can get more technically advanced front lips that stick out farther and prevent even more air from going under your car. Way more expensive. And then you also deal with issues as you make your car lower and lower. For normal daily driving, you start worrying about bumps and hitting it as you go over speed bumps, hitting curbs and stuff like that. So I tried to find a happy medium between absolute performance, looks, and ability to just motor around the roads of Dallas every single day. 3, this has, I don't know how many there are. There's a crazy number of bolts that hold this on, so you use 3M tape, double-sided automotive tape, plus all the bolts. Some people will pull the whole bumper off the car. To do it, you really don't need to do that. There's basically 3 sets of panels underneath the front of your car that you can just undo the bolts and screws on them. And you don't even have to take them all the way off. You just have to get the front to drop down. And then you can drill your holes and attach the nuts. And so if you have ramps, you can do it. Without ramps, if your car is lowered, you just can't reach underneath there. But ramps lets you do it. A lift is much preferred. And so we're saying a 3 on that. And performance again, or value again, there are, if you're looking strictly at performance, there's better options out there. but this is a great combination of performance and value, especially since I'm doing it as a daily driver. Okay, we're going to show, let's see, you might want to show the bottom part of the grill here. Through the lower part of the grill, the front mount intercooler from Euro Compulsion. The Euro Compulsion front mount intercooler, if you go for more advanced tunes, it's a requirement. I have it because I went up to stage 2, phase 2, and it definitely helps out if you have a tune on your car. It will contribute to the overall performance gain. We have this one rated 4.24. I probably really should make it a 5.24. Let's just do that. Make it a 5.24. It has good performance. It is something that is a bit complicated to install. Much easier to do if you have a lift. However, if you don't, if you just have ramps, you can get underneath. One of the main benefits of the intercooler, besides being bigger than the stock intercooler by X% amount, that provides more cooling power. As you take the 2 hoses out that run back into the engine, you will see that the stock version has joints in the hoses every 6 inches to a foot, and so there's all these different places for boost leaks to occur. Whereas what Euro Compulsion did was they made one long twisted hose that goes all the way back. So there's a lot fewer spots where boost can leak out from, which makes the whole system more secure, and it provides more volume cooling, so you get it helps cool better. So those are the 2 main benefits, that and cooler air equals better air for the turbo. Now it's a 2 because that long twisted hose, because it's all one piece, by default makes it harder to install, because you got to wind it through where it has to go. You have to take extra components off your car in order to do it. Again, much easier with a lift. You can do it with ramps. If you start off doing this mod as a beginner do-it-yourselfer, by the time you're done, you're going to be advanced at least to a moderate do-it-yourselfer and probably have invented 2 or 3 more curse words in the universe. Just the way it is. A beginner can work your way through it, expect it to take a long time, and expect yourself going to look at how other people have done it to make sure you're doing it right. An advanced do-it-yourselfer, it's still going to be time consuming, but you'll be able to do it without too many problems. From there we go to the Euro Compulsion V4 air intake. This is with the black hoses. When we bought Saxy, she already had one. And because her engine bay theme is red, they wisely put on the intake with the red hose. There's a quick little humorous story with this. We went and bought Saxy. We pretended like we hadn't already owned a 124 for a year and a half. We didn't know anything about them, just to see what the salesman would say to us. And when he opened up the hood, we were looking at the engine bay. We asked about this intake, and he said, "Oh, this is the performance version of the 124 Spider. Look, it has a turbo." And we're thinking like, ooh, a turbo, this car is special. And he said the reason it has this intake is because it's the performance version and has the turbo. And it was really hard not laughing in his face going, dude, that's on my car, I know what it is, it's not standard. But he also told us the Goodwin performance exhaust was stock because it was the performance version of the car, as well as a couple other things that we asked about. He told us it was like, I think the brake kit and stuff like that. He told us because it was the performance version of the car. We got this car literally at a steal. When we bought it, it was the second lowest priced Abarth in the entire US. And the only one that was lower priced had like 78,000 miles on a 2019 model. This was a 2017 with, at the time we bought it, just barely over 20,000. We got it at a steal and the salesman had no idea. what it was. We got a great value, plus we estimate there's about $4,500 of mods on the car that we probably would have done anyway. So the fact that he told us that was on there because it was the performance version of the car was just really funny. Anyway, you will see a lot of people talk about air intakes. If you want to go and get like a V2 or something where you have the cone in the open, you're basically converting your car from a cold air intake, which it is now, it is stock, into a warm air intake because you're exposing the intake to the engine heat. Don't do that unless you just like to hear turbo sounds. The only reason you would ever make that mod is if you want to hear the turbo sucking air, that's all. But if you're doing performance wise, you're going to want to stay with the V4 where it's a closed system to the front of the car. You keep your cold air, but a thing of note here, unless you're going to build your tune up to at least a stage 3 phase 3, you really don't gain any benefit other than car show looks increased by improving your air intake. The stock air intake is more than adequate for up to a stage 2 or phase 2 tune. This has been confirmed by multiple people who have built their cars up and dynoed it as they went. They did not see performance benefit, noticeable performance benefit from this type of intake, upgrading your intake at all, until they got to the stage 3 phase 3 level. At that point, this provides performance boost. Something to think about if you're planning on modding your car. Here's something else. If you upgrade to this intake and you do not put a tune on your car, expect to throw cells, check engine lights. Because of the increased volume of air going into your turbo, you will get some air fuel mixture type check engine lights come on. I know this because I put this on my car several weeks before I got my tune, and I threw cells. Fortunately, our local Dodge, what's it called? It's Uptown Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, Jeep, Fiat dealer is very mod friendly. They have an outstanding maintenance staff there. They give our local club 15% discount if they know we're from the DFW Fiat Club. And when I took it in, they checked my cell for free. Didn't even charge me to read it and reset it. And the service manager, not the advisor, the service manager sat down with me and he said, you know, if you're going to keep that on your car, you really need to put a tune on it. And so here's my Dodge dealer, Fiat dealer, telling me I need to put a tune on my car. And I don't even have to worry about taking it off when I go service it. They know it's there. They don't care. And so I'm in a fortunate situation where my local Fiat dealer, number one, is close by. Number two, they don't care if I mod my car within reason. I'm sure if I start changing the internals of the motor, then they're going to draw a line as being nice to me, but I don't plan on doing that. Anyway, the point is, if you're not planning to put a tune on your car, don't do this mod. You're going to add performance that it doesn't need, but it mismatches the performance capability with your turbo and the way your ECU is set up, and you're going to throw check engine lights, throw off your air fuel mixture. So only do this if you're going to put a tune on your car. Okay, so the air filter I will rate at 444. Simply due to the configuration I have my car. I only have a phase 2 tune on it, so performance wise I don't really need it there all that much. And so it's good, but it's not great. If I went to a phase 3 tune, that would switch this rating to a 544. It's a pretty simple install, and we have a video on it. There's other videos out there. You combine all the videos, you can go out and do it pretty easy. Oil catch can. This is sold by all kinds of aftermarket vendors. I bought this one from Eurocompulsion. They were the company I was familiar with at the point I bought this. You will note that a lot of these small turbo motors will have some oil come out of the turbo, come down into the air filter. When you clean your air filter, you'll notice there's a little oil down in there. This helps either reduce or eliminate the amount of oil that makes it into the air filter. Here's the oil air separator. That's stock. People claim that if you keep this clean, you don't need the oil catch can. My experience is that isn't exactly true. The oil catch can does help the problem with some oil getting into your air filter. And we have a video on this. Under normal stock configuration, these two hoses, this hose would come out and go here. This hose crosses over and goes over here, and it just looks weird. So we show in your video a real simple trick to reverse the baffle inside. It's very simple. And then you can put your hoses to where they don't overlap each other. If you have an automatic, this would go back here. On your manual, you can mount it here. I've seen some people with different air intakes use this hole right here and mount it right here. So there's different ways you can set it up based on how clever you are within your engine bay. They do work, and we rate this at, I'm going to rate this a 4.42. Why? Because it doesn't completely stop oil from getting into your intake. It's a simple install. And the reason I have a 2 on value is because I discovered much later I can buy this exact same thing on Amazon for approximately 33% of the cost that I can get it from an aftermarket manufacturer. So based on that alone, I have to be honest and say it's a great value if you buy it on Amazon. It's not so much a great value if you buy it from an aftermarket vendor. And I'm not trying to dish aftermarket vendors because they have to make their money. But just be aware, if you go on Amazon, you can get the same thing for a cheaper price. Forged atmospheric blow-off valve. And we have an install video for this. Before we had this, we put on the everybody's favorite diverter valve, the GFB diverter valve. And why do you want to do this? The diverter valve, as Fiat calls them, every other company calls them blow-off valves, has boost leaks. The stock diverter valve is the least impressive performance out of all the ones I'm going to talk about. So stock diverter valve, lots of boost leaks. GFB diverter valve, less boost leaks. Forge diverter valve, because it's all metal, extremely good construction, almost no boost leaks. Again, if you're just daily driving, you're not going to run your car in a sporty fashion, no real need to do this. If you're going to be operating in a more sporty mode, the higher your level of sportiness, the more you're going to want to switch to a really good diverter valve, because boost leaks and power are kind of work against each other. The more boost leaks you have, the less power you generate. So I got the atmospheric. You can see the holes in it. What this does is when I'm under acceleration and let off the gas, you hear it go whoosh, psh, as it dumps boost. You can also get it without the holes, and Forge calls that the recirculating blow-off valve, where it keeps all the boost in the system and just recirculates it back through the vacuum hose. So if you're going strictly for performance and track, I would think you would want the recirculating valve, because the more boost you keep in the system, the faster your turbo gets going again once you press the throttle down. This actually dumps a little bit, so I'm going with a little bit less performance over the sound that it makes. If I was doing a strictly track purpose built car, I would use the recirculating instead of the atmospheric. This is a 545. A lot of people will say even the GFB helps smooth out that little jerkiness you get when you first start the car and are traveling at relatively low RPMs. This is a 545, pretty simple install. On the Forge, I rate it 545 because you get the best value per performance. The GFB diverter valve, I would rate 444 because you you don't get quite as much performance for the value as you do for the forge. Now, admittedly, the forge costs a little more than the GFB, but you do get an increased performance out of that. Next is the forge wastegate actuator. What this does is inside your turbo there's a wastegate. It's just a little door with a hinge that lets the turbo dump excess boost. Again, as just a daily driver, no sporting driving. If you're not doing other mods, just don't mess with the stock. You don't need to. When you start putting tunes on your car, then you're going with some increased levels of boost. And one of the main reasons for doing this is in the forge you also get a spring kit. You change the spring inside here, and stiffer springs means that the wastegate won't open until you reach higher levels of boost. The general recommendation for a phase 1 and phase 2 tune is to use the yellow spring, which will put the crack pressure at 15 pounds per square inch. Now, by default, if you use the yellow spring, it should be adjusted to 15. After you install it, you probably want to check and ensure that it actually is at 15. It's a fairly simple adjustment to change, and then when you take it out and drive it, you can adjust it up or down based on how it's performing for your particular engine. This is rated at 545. Forge makes really good products. You get the performance, fairly easy install. You just unbolt like your turbo blanket or heat shield, and you can snap it in there pretty easy. And 5 on value because you get what you pay for. It does what it says it's going to do. Then we're going to go to our strut brace. On Classica and Lussos, you do not have the strut brace. On Abarths, you have a stock strut brace already. And let me point out on the Abarth, you have joints right here where you can take this centerpiece off just by removing 2 bolts. When you change your spark plugs, that allows you to reach the cylinder very simply. Whereas with the custom, this is a little bit more stout, and these 3 pieces are welded together. In order to get that forced spark plug, you're going to have to take these off and loosen these and bend it up in order to reach in there. Now, what does this do? Strut braces or tower braces, there's various different things people call them, are designed to help the shock tower share loads with the other shock tower. It basically stiffens your chassis. They were designed specifically for cars with McPherson struts, because the way a McPherson strut is designed, when you go through a hard corner or you hit a hard bump in the road or something, the top of the strut tower takes the entire load or most of the load of the vehicle, and it can cause your car to flex. And so when you put this on here, it helps transfer the force over to the other side. It kind of shares the load, and it keeps your car from flexing as much, thus it strengthens the chassis. Our cars have double wishbone suspensions, so the effect is not as pronounced, because in the double wishbone, the top of the strut tower isn't what takes a lot of the vertical load. It's kind of at the midpoint of the strut tower. However, under hard cornering and any kind of vertical force on a strut tower, such as hitting a pothole, hitting a bump on this side and not on that side, is still going to the strut tower. The strut brace will still help load share, and it will improve the performance of the vehicle simply because it helps transfer the force over to the other side. You have 2 strut braces absorbing the force instead of just 1. So it helps dampen the effect that you experience, helps dampen the amount of chassis bend you get in hard cornering, or if you hit something that causes a strong, abrupt upward vertical force on your shock. We have these rated as 443. Performance is good. The only reason I said a 4 instead of a 5, because this actually is a very good strut brace, simply because when combining with double wishbone suspension, it doesn't give you as much as an impact as if, say, you had a Mustang or something like that, which has McPherson struts up front. And then 4, pretty simple installation. We have a video on this. You have 3 bolts on each tower brace, and you have 2 bolts here. That's pretty straightforward. It's not very hard to do, and then you tighten up your hinges right here. I will say though, for the Classica and Lusso, there's one other thing you have to do to be able to mount these. The engine cowl in the back here does not come with these studs. On the Abarth, they're there. The Classica and Lusso does not have those, so before you can mount a strut brace like this, you have to replace the engine cowl with an Abarth engine cowl, which is a little bit complicated because you have to get back down in there, but it's simply unbolt, bolt in, and that provides you with these studs so you can properly secure this. You don't want to run this without bolting this down. That would completely eliminate the effect, because you have to fasten it to the chassis of your car in order to get the effect. If you were just going like on Saxy, if you went from the stock strut brace to a Cusco because it's stronger, then this would be a 5 on value, because you don't have that extra piece you have to put on. Those studs are already there. Okay, turbo blanket. One of the first mods I did to my engine was put on a turbo blanket, in this case the PTP Lava turbo blanket. The idea here is it covers up the hot side of the turbo, leaves the cold side exposed, helps retain heat in the turbo. If you know the rules of thermodynamics, you know that when you have air in a confined space, the warmer you make it, the greater the pressure. Because it wants to expand, it doesn't have any volume left to expand in, so that increases the pressure inside the hot side, and that helps increase the efficiency of your motor. The other great thing is, like for example, these wires right here, people who track their cars, put them under high temperature loads, see that sometimes nearby rubber and components, the high heat from the turbo can harm them over time. The turbo blanket helps shield them. I did an install video for this, and I did an install video for the Sila Concepts turbo blanket we have on Saxy, which is from 500 Madness. And in doing this video, I found a research paper from a doctoral engineering candidate at, I believe, Texas A&M, who did an in-depth study on turbo blankets and said yes, they do provide heat protection from nearby surrounding components, as well as providing a small performance gain because of how they keep the hot side of the turbo hotter. It's not a huge performance gain. It's not like you're going to feel the effect. However, in terms of acceleration, it makes your acceleration a very small bit faster because it's on there. Between the two, I will put up links to both PTP and Sila Concepts have different degrees of effectiveness in the turbo blankets they offer. If you're going to put on a turbo blanket, I would say go with the Lava for the PTP, go with the higher end for the Sila Concepts, and that's the link I'll put up, because it's just a small price increase, but you get the blankets that are rated for higher degrees of temperature and are just slightly more effective. The amount of heat tolerance these two different manufacturers have in their blankets are almost exactly the same. So if I had to buy one right now, I would recommend going with the Sila Concepts in whichever version you want from them, because compared to the counterpart from PTP, you get a better warranty, slightly lower cost, and exactly the same or marginally better heat tolerances. So I think it's a just a no-brainer for me. Go with the Silent Concepts if you're choosing. PTP is probably the better known name. Silent Concepts is the slightly better turbo blanket. Okay, let me pop this off.
You're at 25 minutes, by the way.
We upgraded to the Alfa Romeo 4C coil packs. You will see a lot of debate on whether these actually help or not. I did it only because when I had my Euro Compulsion Phase 2 tune on the car under very high acceleration at higher RPMs, I was having a just a small amount of misfires. And when you have that kind of situation, that is the indicator that you should switch to the Alpha 4C coil packs. They are just a more stout coil pack, and they'll eliminate the misfires in most cases. For the average person, especially with a daily driver, no need to do this. When you start modding out your car performance-wise, you may encounter situations where these actually provide benefit. For most people, it's something you don't need to do. The other thing is, you'll see a lot of people say that when you put the Alpha 4Cs in, because they curve upwards right here instead of going flat, that you can't put your engine cover back on. As you just saw, I just took mine off. The engine cover actually does fit if you have the Alpha 4C coil packs on. We rate this one a 544. They do what they're supposed to do. As far as value, they're a little bit expensive. And again, as I said, unless you're experiencing misfires, there's no need to do it. A lot of people put these on and they gain absolutely no performance out of it. Lastly, we have engine tune. When I first bought Itsy and started looking at tunes, there were basically two players in the tuning world for 124s unless you went to a local tuner, and they were Euro Compulsion and Torque tunes. There's a non-stop endless debate over which one is better, who provides you the best tune, and the customer service aspects as well. So I decided to go with Torque Tune. I will say it's not always the case. You will experience times when you have to be patient with Torque tunes. They may not respond to you as quickly as you desire. But he's basically a one-man shop that does all kinds of stuff. John's a good guy, and if you give him time, he will come through for you. I like the original tune, and I'm going to tell you both these stories just so you can compare my experience, and maybe that'll help shape your decision. I had two cases where at highway speeds, without downshifting, I tromped on the accelerator and my engine completely cut off to where I had to drift over to the side, turn off the car, and it started right back up. And so I sent an email to Torque and told him what was going on. And it took a couple weeks, but he, free of charge, sent me 2 additional tunes to try. Basically said, pick whichever one of these worked the best for you, and enjoy the tune. And I put one of them on, completely eliminated the problem, have never experienced it again. Fast forward to a couple months later, I was on Twisted Sisters 2020, a driving event down outside of Kerrville, Texas. It's a driving event, an annual driving event at the time that was sponsored by Brian and Engine Performance out of Houston. And they had a lot of sponsorship. I put 2 raffle tickets into a raffle for a Euro Compulsion Phase 2 tune, and somehow I won it. So now I have a Torque tune and a Euro Compulsion Phase 2 tune. Naturally, I want to see how it works. I got home, put it on my car, and I used it for about a year and a half. I had issues with the car backfiring. I didn't get pops and burbles, but the car would backfire many times when I lifted the accelerator. I called Euro Compulsion on other issues. They've been very helpful, and they love talking cars. You can call them up and talk about stuff. Sometimes even when you aren't buying anything, they'll just stand there and talk to you. And they told me that I had a boost leak in the car, that the backfires were being caused by a boost leak, which at the time I thought kind of odd because my torque tune didn't backfire. Why would I have a boost leak with Euro compulsion and not with torque? That didn't make sense. Had the car checked out, couldn't find a boost leak. And I wrote them back and asked, can I like do a data log and send you the files so you can see what's going on? Because I really don't like the backfiring. And they really just told me it's the boost leak and didn't want to work with me at all. And so eventually I got tired of it. I couldn't get them to work with me on it. And so I went back to the torque tune. And I've been happily driving around my torque tune ever since. And so you'll find other people that have exact opposite stories where Euro compulsion went out of their way to help them, and torque seems like they forgot them. And I'll say with torque, if you keep a nice attitude with him, if you don't get an attitude with him, because if you give John attitude, he'll give you attitude back. If you give them time, they will respond and they will work with you. Euro compulsion in this one case completely let me down. They basically told me they didn't care because they never acted like they cared, and they basically just kept saying it's this, it's this, it's this. I had it at a local mechanic here in Mesquite called MTAC, and when I told them what Euro compulsion was telling me, they basically laughed and said, you need to find somebody else because that's not what the problem is. And like I said, I've had 3 different tunes from torque on the car now. None of them backfired. The Euro compulsion did. So be that as it may, you make your own decisions. That's my particular story. Tunes, obviously, out of all the things you do, the tune is going to probably provide the most noticeable benefit because it single-handedly boosts horsepower more than any other of these bolt-ons that you're going to do. There's certain requirements for phase 1. You can go up to a phase 2 where you may need to put on a different bolt on. When you go to phase 3, that's when you're starting to get into more serious modifications of your car, and you may end up having to start after that. If you want to go even higher, you're going to have to get forged internals and some more components that are able to handle more torque. So up to phase 2 is just bolt-ons. After that, you start getting into more intense things you have to do to allow your engine to handle a tune. If you're into sporty, performance-oriented driving, a tune is a wonderful addition. I will say there's a new player in the field now out of Florida, DI Corsa. And so our camera just overheated again. DI Corsa will go back and forth with you as part of the tune you purchase. They expect that back and forth interchange with the data that you log until they have the tune optimized for your specific vehicle. So they are definitely worth taking a look at. I will, if I can find it, I'll put up a link for them as well. And also, I don't want to leave out Madness, AutoWorks, 500 Madness, because they have several options as far as, I don't, off the top of my head, don't know what they call them. But they have things that that you can install to upgrade the performance of your motor, similar to a tune. I don't know if they're pure tunes or chip boxes, or maybe some are chip boxes, some are flat out tunes. I haven't really delved into them too much, but I don't want to leave them out because they offer products that offer similar type improvements. So between all 4 different companies, you should be able to research and find the one that you feel will work best for you. Again, if you're going towards more performance-oriented driving, a tune is a wonderful thing to put on your car. And I think that wraps up all our performance tunes.
Mods.
And so that wraps up all our performance mods. Hopefully that helps you. All 3 of these parts help you get a look at different mods, what they do, how they work, and help guide you as to whether you might want to put them on your vehicle or not. If you like the video, thumbs up, hit subscribe, and we will have more videos out in the not too distant future, including 2 more on mods. One is going to talk about how you as a beginner modder or maybe new to the 124 modder approach the whole idea of deciding what mods to put on your car, because it's very easy to select a mod that maybe isn't going to work with another mod in your car's future. And the other one is going to talk about the single best performance mod you can do for your car, no matter what car it is. And here's a tease: it is not on Itsy yet. Have a good day, y'all.